What's up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports. We are back on the main channel. Feels great to be back on the main channel here, and a great card to come back to. UFC 262. The card's pretty good. We've already, lost quite a few fights, but still with the main event of Charles Oliveira, Michael Chandler, can't really complain. We have Shane Burgos, Edson Barboza, which I think is probably going to be the best fight on the card. And then the co-main event, Beneil, Dariush, and Tony Ferguson. On this video, as always, we're going to be talking some DFS, talking some Draftkings, talking some betting, talking some lines, and breaking the card down. So before we get started, if you guys can leave a like on the video, also subscribe so you not miss out on all the other content on Pub Sports Radio. Let's get those subs up. Let's get those likes up. And what's up, everybody in the chat? What's up, Uncle Weezy? UFC 262, catch-up beating versus Mazany, the people's main event. Let's go. Yeah. I think it's one of those rare instances where there's two people's main events. Mazany, catch-up beating is definitely one, but I think Pickett and Wright could be the other people's main event, the fights that everybody's looking forward to. So that's that. Those fights are on this card, which is going to be interesting to talk about for sure. And yeah, I have a ton of action for this card. I have 8 bets, looking to add maybe 1 or 2 more as well. Just so many great spots stick out on this card. It's insane. Like, it seems like I could bet on every single fight. Obviously, I'm not, but I could if I wanted to bet on every single fight. Like, there's so many spots that stick out. It's crazy. Also curious to look at it from a DraftKings perspective as well, because take a look at these salaries. Like, they're insane. Katlyn Chookagian is 8,800. Anthony Shevchenko is 9,200. Like, DraftKings this week is going to be fun. I think there's going to be a ton of salary needed to be left on the table. So it's going to be a great way to get different this week. I don't see many ties. Last week, I had a million people messaging me saying they got a takedown and all that. There's like a 100-way tie for first place. I don't think we're going to see that this week. With these salaries, I think DraftKings did a pretty terrible job, to be honest. So should be fun. What's up, Auto Estrada? How you doing? I'm ready for some Just Bleed type of fights. I'm sure we will get plenty of those on this card. Mazany is very expensive on the whole card. Yes, she is. She is the most expensive on the card, I do believe, which is, again, it's crazy. 9,300 for Gina Mazany. Never thought I'd see it. Never thought I'd see the day ever. What's up, James? Have to bounce back from this past weekend. Let's go. I agree. Let's go. What's up, Kevin and Nate? So many tight lines this week. Hindsight is going to be a bitch this week. I agree. Like, this is one of those cards where these fights are lined so close. Like, we'll take a look at the lines here. The biggest favorite on the card is Christos Giagos. The second biggest favorite on the card is Gina Mazany. So interesting. Like, other than that, like, all the fights are lined extremely close. Dariush, I think, is like the third biggest favorite. So it should be a fun card. It should be an interesting card as well. Let's get on a roll. Let's get this card in a roll. I agree. Jordan Wright's last win was a cut stoppage, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it was. Yes, it was a cut stoppage. What's up, Herb Clean? I like that. Herb Clean. Let's pop in, Brady. Let's make some big moolah on this wonderful card. I agree. Kevin says, I have a lineup I love that has 2,200 salary left. Hey, it's one of those weeks. It's one of those weeks where you can do that. You can do that for sure. So we'll get into it. We'll start the first fight of the night. We'll talk some betting. We'll talk some DFS as well. And I'll be honest, the prelims on this card they're a little bit iffy. I mean, Pickett, Wright should not be on UFC 262. I mean, I'm looking forward to it personally, but it probably should not be on the card. Mazany, Cachoeira probably shouldn't be on UFC 262, but I'm looking forward to that one as well. Maybe something's wrong with me, but they should be fun fights. It's just like these guys are like not the best names to start with these prelims, but Christos Giagos going against Sean Soriano. Giagos, we don't have a salary for him, but considering he's the biggest favorite on the card, I wonder if they'll put them right in that 9,400, 6,800 spot, which I would not love that. I would not like paying 9,400 for Christos Giagos, but I do think he scores pretty well from a DraftKings perspective based off of Soriano has a pretty poor takedown defense. Soriano gives us back up in a ton of fights. He's been submitted quite a few times as well. I like Giagos here. But if he's like 9,400, then I'm probably not going to have too much interest in the guy. As far as Sean Soriano, going back, there wasn't much tape on the guy other than I was able to see his, he had like 3 UFC fights where he went 0-3, 2 of those being a sub. In each of those fights, he was taken down. Giagos has good wrestling. I think it's a clear win for Giagos out, other than maybe Giagos getting subbed on top, but I don't know. Giagos has been subbed 3 times. Soriano has been subbed 4 times, but I think Giagos probably does win a decision here. I just don't know if I want to touch it from a betting perspective, considering he's the biggest favorite on the card. Minus 235. If you have the FanDuel Sportsbook, I pointed this out on my Discord earlier, like minus 192, way better than the rest of the market. I wouldn't mind the like minus 192, but once it's getting past like minus 200 mark, I'm probably going to pass there. We'll take a look at the props a little bit. Not many props yet, but Giagos by decision plus 110, I guess is not horrible, but I think there's so many other fights to bet on this card than Giagos. But I do think he wins. But I do want to see the salaries for this one. If he's 9,400, probably not. But if he's like, I don't know, like 9,000, sure, I think he can score pretty decent. But I don't think there's much finishing upside for Giagos. Let's see what we got here. Has DK added the Giagos Soriano yet? No, I just checked and they haven't done it. So hopefully they add it soon. Yeah, but that's what's fun about going live on Tuesdays. Like DraftKings usually takes their time if a fight is like just recently added. But yeah, I'll take Giagos from a betting perspective. Probably not. If anything, that minus 192 on FanDuel is something to look at. If you are on the Giagos side, I'd check out FanDuel there. So getting into the next fight, Tucker Lutz versus Kevin Aguilar. A fight that, first of all, it's really closely lined like the majority of these fights on the card. We have Kevin Aguilar, who is a slight dog, plus 100. Lutz is minus 120. Another Contender Series guy, and I kind of talk about it a lot. We see these Contender Series fighters, usually they're overpriced, and usually they drop the ball. It seems like time after time they drop the ball. And going back and watching Lutz, like I was extremely underwhelmed. Like I've seen everybody taking Tucker Lutz this week, and I was excited to go see what this guy had, and just extremely underwhelmed with the guy. I mean, his striking defense is very, very bad. He's extremely hittable. He gets hit clean. He gets hit hard. The wrestling, it's not great. And even then, if it was great, I don't see him being able to take down Kevin Aguilar, who has a phenomenal 87% takedown defense, stuffed 8 takedowns from Enrique Barzola, a very good wrestler. So I think this is a solid spot for Kevin Aguilar, but do I want to trust him? He's on a 3-fight losing streak. He looked terrible in his last fight against Charles Rosa. Got outlanded by Charles Rosa, the grappler, which is a huge red flag there. And the one thing I will give Lutz is he does come forward. He does throw volume. He's been knocked out before, but he looks like he does have a chin on him. So I was kind of leaning towards betting Aguilar, but probably going to pass here. As far as DraftKings, if a decent underdog in Aguilar, maybe he does find a knockout. He does hit hard. No knockouts in the UFC. But this is probably a fight that I'm not too interested in. I think there's much more better fights to either bet on the card or even, play on DraftKings. Lutz is kind of interesting because he does go for takedowns quite a bit. It's just I don't see him taking down Aguilar, whose takedown defense is phenomenal. He's not a great fighter, but one thing he is great at is having a good takedown defense. So I'm going to take the underdog as a pick in Aguilar. I just don't know if I want to put my money on him. I kind of want to see the weigh-ins. He didn't look great in his last fight. Didn't look like he came in the best shape. So I want to see the weigh-ins. If he is, looking decent, and if he is still the underdog, maybe I'll take a shot on Aguilar, but it's just really, really hard to trust that guy. And I do think Lutz is going to have some success in this fight. I think your shadow banned brother on YouTube. Can't see it on your channel or on search, only when I click this word. Yeah, I'm on Pub Sports Radio. That's why it's not on my channel. Pub Sports Radio. Every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Aguilar all day. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't say all day, but I think this is like a really good bounce back spot for him. I'm just not impressed with Tucker Lutz at all. Howdy, Spencer. How you doing? Aguilar losing to Rosa was pathetic. Yeah, I was shocked. I wasn't just shocked that he lost, but I was shocked at how he lost. Like if you told me he was going to, stand up with Rosa for 15 minutes and lose that fight, I would have called you crazy. But yeah, it's a bad look. But yeah, Tucker Lutz, he's pretty hittable. So I don't know. I'm probably not going to bet it though. It's hard to trust Aguilar. Aguilar was kind of out of shape and up a weight class versus Rosa, though. That is true. And yeah, like you mentioned, he does look in better shape now. I was checking his Instagram, but I do want to see the weigh-ins. So we'll definitely see. But yeah, I saw the same thing you're seeing, Kevin. All good, Herb Clean. I like that. I like that name, Herb Clean. All right, so we'll get into the next fight. Like Uncle Weezy was talking about earlier, the people's main event. Gina Mazzani, Priscilla Cachoeira, a.k.a. the Zombie Girl, a.k.a. Priscilla Catch a Beating, a.k.a. my goodness, she gets hit a ton. She gets hit a ton. I want to bring up these stats because they're pretty hilarious. Priscilla Catch a Beating, she absorbs 7.98 significant strikes per minute, a significant strike differential of minus 4.09, worst on the slate, a 42% striking defense. Like, she is there to be hit. They call her a Zombie Girl because she is getting hit cleanly a million times a fight. But she is very tough. She's very tough. She doesn't go down easy. She's only been finished by Valentina Shevchenko, and I mentioned that on my breakdown video today. Yes, that was a fight. Valentina Shevchenko versus Priscilla Cachoeira was a real fight. Kind of forgot about it. Went back and watched it the other day, and it was pretty hilarious. Valentina Shevchenko outlanded her like 96-2, and it was probably one of the biggest one-sided beatdowns you'll ever see in the UFC. So, but in this fight, first of all, I would not recommend, parlaying Gina Mazzani at minus 210. I would not recommend playing Gina Mazzani at minus 210. I would not do that. I mean, it's just crazy that seeing her at minus 210. But if you kind of look into it, I do think she can win this fight just based off of the takedown. She does average about 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. Cachoeira got taken down twice by the boxer Molly McCann. So that's a path, getting those takedowns. But we've seen Mazzani knocked out before. We've seen her knocked out in the first round before, and Priscilla Cachoeira does have some power. So I know Uncle Weezy is going to like this one, but I don't mind some Cachoeira at 6,900. I don't mind it. I remember making some good money off of her against Shanna Dobson. She went in there in the first round, got a quick knockout. I mean, that's kind of on the table here. It really is. We've seen Mazzani knocked out, starched in the first round more than once. So, yeah, it's kind of on the table. Mazzani probably should win this, but I will have some Cachoeira at 6,900. As far as the Mazzani 9,300, this is interesting. Nobody's going to have Gina Mazzani. Nobody's going to want to pay the 9,300. But if you take a look at all the Priscilla Catch a Beating fights, it's either she's scoring very well or her opponents are scoring very, very well just because of how hittable she is, no defense. So I'm actually going to play, as ugly as this is, quite a bit of this fight on DraftKings. I think it's going to be really low owned as a whole, and I think it scores really, really high at a low ownership, which is something I'm very intrigued in as well. Like, Mazzani has the capability of getting takedowns, which is going to add up, control time, which is going to add up, and landing a million shots on the no striking defense of Cachoeira. And Cachoeira has potentially knockout upside. So DraftKings, I actually have, as weird as it is, some interest in this fight from a DraftKings perspective. From a betting perspective, there's no way I'm betting either fighter here. Mazzani minus 210, no thank you. Cachoeira plus 175, no thank you. If you're on the Cachoeira side, like, knockout, like, that's probably how she wins. I don't see her winning a decision because she probably is going to get taken down. She probably is going to get hit a million times. I think if she wins, it's probably by knockout, and it's probably even like a first round knockout. So knockout plus 645, Cachoeira in round 1 plus 800, Cachoeira by first round knockout plus 1,100. But ultimately, I really don't want to put any money on this fight. I'd feel really terrible about myself if I did so. But if I was to, it probably would be that Cachoeira knockout prop. But I'm not going to do that. But yeah, it should be a fun fight. People's main event. Really looking forward to it. My lock is Pickett. I'll probably sprinkle on KO, first round KO. Wright has to be one of the worst fighters in the UFC. Extremely padded record and terrible chin. I agree. Pickett sucks. Had to do the Contender Series twice. Yeah, Pickett does suck. He does, but so does Jordan Wright. And Jordan Wright got starched on the Contender Series by Fluffy Hernandez in like a minute. Pickett isn't amazing, but Jordan Wright is horrible. It's actually a joke that he's in the UFC. Yeah, but he's the Beverly Hills Ninja. Good enough. Yeah, great nickname. Maybe not the best skill set. Geez, was the UFC high on Cachoeira? That fight seems ridiculous. Yeah, just looking back at it, like, what were they thinking? Valentina versus Cachoeira has to be one of the funniest fights you could ever put together. That's hilarious. Cachoeira has 1 round of gas. That is true. She does slow down a ton. If she wins, it's first round knockout. Mazzani has 3 first round losses in the UFC. Both ladies are live for DK. Sneaky fight to own. I agree with Uncle Weezy here. LMAO, he got KO'd by Hernandez in 40 seconds, and Buckley destroyed him. The game plan is clear on Wright. All you got to do is pressure the guy. Agreed. He does not like pressure. He has no chin. But yeah, we'll talk about that fight more next. You're taking all my talking points here, Aiden. Come on. What's up, Connor? How you doing? Catch a beating. Yeah, catch a beating. And they call her catch a beating for a reason. She does catch a beating every single fight, but very exciting fighter. Have faith in my wifey, Jeannie. I think she wins. It's just would I bet her at this big of a favorite? Probably never, ever. Cachoeira took the Shevchenko fight on less than a week's notice. She was a last-minute replacement. That's insane. That is insane. But we'll get into the next people's main event. And, kind of a talking point in the chat already. Jaimie Pickett versus Jordan Wright. I kind of have a strong take on this one. I kind of really like Jaimie Pickett in this fight. And Jaimie Pickett and Jordan Wright are both guys I would typically fade, but they're going against each other. So got to pick one here. And you take a look at Jordan Wright. Somebody pointed out in the chat, you take a look at his first 7 opponents. Their record combined for 0-39. The first 7 guys that he beat had 0 wins on their record. And I went back and watched those fights, and they were just hilarious, man. I mean, he was taking these guys down. The guys have never looked like they've never fought in their life, and he got some easy wins there. And then when you see him, face some resistance, I mean, against Fluffy Hernandez came forward, knocked him out in 40 seconds. He has no striking defense. He has no chin. He hates being hit. He's a decent hammer, but a horrible nail. 46% striking defense or 40% striking defense for Jordan Wright, which, believe it or not, that's worse than Priscilla catch a beating, which that is terrible. That is horrible. So we have seen Wright knocked out a couple times. Buckley almost knocked him out in that first round, ultimately ended up knocking him out in that second round, made some money on the under 1.5 here. But yeah, I like Pickett. I like Pickett to hopefully come forward. Like, Pickett's not bad. When he does throw and land, he lands pretty hard. His striking's decent. He just needs to throw more output. And if he does come forward in this fight, I think he's going to have so much success. And I think another aspect of this fight is going to be the takedowns of Jaimie Pickett as well. He has pretty solid wrestling, brown belt and BJJ. I just don't think Wright's UFC caliber. Maybe Pickett's not as well, but Pickett, at least he has durability. And that's kind of why I really do like him in this fight, is that durability. If you take the two, Pickett's much, much, much more durable. It's not even close. He survived 3 rounds with Puna Haley Soriano, somebody I'm extremely high on. He survived 3 rounds with Tafon Chukwu, who we saw last week. And I was saying in my breakdown video, like, I don't even want to imagine what Puna Haley Soriano would do to Jordan Wright. Like, he would probably get him out of there in like 30 seconds or less, and I'm not even joking. So I like Pickett. I like him on DraftKings. I like the price. Ultimately, this is a fight you're probably going to want to target. This is a fight that's probably going to finish. Wright has 100% finish rate. Wright has never seen the 3rd round. Wright has never seen the scorecards. So give me Pickett. Give me Pickett. So a line that really stuck out to me when going through the odds here was the fight won't start round 3. I got it at plus 100. It's now minus 105. The thing is, like, Jordan Wright has never seen the 3rd round, first of all. So, and he has like 12, 13 fights. He's never seen the 3rd round. I think it's a great opportunity for that fight to not start round 3. Even the under 2.5 alternative line, minus 160, that's not bad at all, like, at all. Fight doesn't get to decision, minus 200, that's not bad at all. I see this fight finishing one way or another. You take a look at Pickett. Pickett's a pretty good finisher himself, and Wright has no chance. So I do think this fight finishes. Take a look at those unders. Maybe take a look at that fight won't start round 3. And on DraftKings, I'm going to have quite a bit of Pickett, but I will have some Wright as well. I have some Wright, although I'd be kind of surprised if Wright finished Pickett when Soriano and Chukwu couldn't. It's still possible. It's still possible. Wright is dangerous. I just don't think he's that great. And if Pickett does come in here with a good game plan, I do think he wins. But yeah, minus 110 on the money line is not terrible as well. But I'm pretty high on Pickett, as crazy as it sounds, because he's not the best fighter, but I don't think that Wright is the best fighter as well. DFS, my dog, we got to take advantage of these close lines. Don't worry. Taking advantage for sure, man. Eight bets. 8 bets this week and looking at possibly 2 more. Like, I'm with you. I'm taking advantage this week. Jordan Wright is horrible. Yeah, he's pretty bad, man. He's pretty bad. Pretty bad. But so is Pickett. So, I mean, it's a low-level fight, but I do think Pickett is the better fighter. When your striking defense is worse than a girl whose nickname is Catch a Beating, yeah, crazy. It's insane. So, yeah, he's hittable, and he doesn't have the chin to back it up. At least Catch a Beating has the chin to back it up, being hittable. Wright definitely does not. Such a little fight here. Have a unit on Pickett. I'd bet more, but neither of these guys are very trustworthy. Yeah, good point there. Can't believe he beat Ike. Yeah, he beat Ike with that cut stoppage. I'm curious to see what would have happened if that fight would have kept going, you know? But Ike did do the right thing. He came forward. He pressed him against the cage. He did all the right things. He just got caught with a knee and got cut open. So, yeah. How juiced is the under? Yeah, like I said, I think it's set at 1.5, but the alternate under 2.5 minus 160. Like, that's not horrible at all. But will Pickett pressure Buckley and will Pickett pressure like Buckley and Fluffy? I mean, I hope so. Like, that's the game plan. That's what you got to do. That's what you got to do there. Picking a DK all day. I'm not going to go crazy on it, but I'm going to have quite a bit. Happy to be here. Shout out Grady. Appreciate that, Ron. Give me Pickett by KO plus 200 all day. Hey, not a bad line. I was thinking, yeah, KO is probably the most likely path to victory. But like I said, he is a brown belt, but he just doesn't use it. So, yeah, KO is probably the way to go. What's up, John? Yeah, he got that the spinning kick in like the first 10 seconds. I don't know if he dropped him or if Ike was off balance. It was weird. Like, it looked like it didn't touch him, but it did. I don't know. Love it. Hey, I love it too. So, yeah, we have about 50 in here. If you guys can hit the like, would really appreciate that. Going to be going live every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Figured the earlier, the better. The earlier, the better. Not much going on earlier in the week. I was able to get all my research done like this afternoon, so I was ready to go. Kind of trying to get ahead of the game. So 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time every Tuesday night. All right, next we have a very interesting fight from a Draftkings perspective and a betting perspective. We'll kind of talk about the line and the line movement in this one, which is insane. Antonina Shevchenko, 9,200. Andrea Lee, 7,000. So taking a look at the line here, it was the weirdest thing. Like, I was, doing my tape study and all that on Monday, and I was seeing Andrea Lee. She was sitting at like plus 150, plus 145. I go to, start doing some tape study. I check back the lines a couple hours later, and it's like plus 120. Like, money came in on Andrea Lee and a ton of it, which sucks. I kind of wish I tape studied the fight a little bit earlier because I would have been all over that plus 150 easily. Plus 160, I would have been all over that. But I did, once I got all my tape study done for the fight, it was sitting at like plus 112. So at that point, I was like, I'm not going to touch it. But from a betting perspective, I think that Andrea Lee by decision could be interesting. Andrea Lee by decision is plus 175. FanDuel is plus 185. I think that could be a really interesting aspect of the fight in a fight that has an over of minus 400. So you assume it does go to decision. And Andrea Lee, no finishes in the UFC. I think Lee by decision, if you do want to improve the price a little bit. But even Lee at like plus 105 is not terrible. Like, I think Lee should be favored. And I do think when it's all said and done, when the fight starts, I do think she will be favored. So crazy line movement. And with that crazy line movement, we're going to get Andrea Lee at 7,000 with some takedown upside, with some control time upside, with a ton of volume. And we're going to get her probably as a favorite at 7,000. So obviously she's going to be a great play. But the ownership on her, I'm kind of concerned about that. But it's really hard to ignore that Lee has a ton of upside in this fight, especially with the new DraftKings scoring system. We saw Katlyn Chookagian, the striker, somebody that prior to the Chookagian and Antonina fight, she had 0 takedowns in the UFC. She took down Shevchenko like 2 or 3 times and was able to dominate her on the mat. If Chookagian can do it, I think Lee can do it as well. Lee does average like 2.5 takedowns, something like that, or about 1 takedown, 1.6 takedowns for 50 minutes. Not terrible. Shevchenko does have a 56% takedown defense. So I think Lee can mix in those takedowns. I think on the feet, it's close, but I do like the output of Lee as well. I think Lee is an extremely live dog. And at 7,000 on DraftKings, it definitely has my attention, especially for cash games, like for my cash lineup, she's going to be in it. And even for tournaments, like I think she has that upside as well. So it's really hard for me to get to Shevchenko at 9,200. Probably not going to get there, but Lee at 7,000, like that's a play that is really, really, really sticking out, especially seeing all the money come in on her, especially seeing how she's, plus 105, minus 105. I think that line's going to flip, and it's going to flip very soon after people start doing, the research and seeing that Andrea Lee has a clear path to victory. She really does. So give me Lee. I like her as a dog. I like her as a punt. And we talked about it earlier, like there's going to be a lot of salary left on the table this week, and I think Lee is a pretty solid option there. I want to know the Pickett by decision line. Let's check that for you. PayPal, Pickett by decision, which, yeah, it could be possible. It could be possible. Pickett by decision is going to be, if I had to guess, it's like plus 300 or something, but Pickett by decision is plus 385, plus 425, plus 500 for decision on the Pickett. But hopefully he finishes them. I'm hoping he finishes right. How long have I been live? I've been live 26 minutes. 26 minutes. All right, so we'll get into the next fight here, and this is a fight I do have some interest in. Are you scared that Lee won't focus on takedowns as there is a live crowd and it goes to the cards? They will favor Val as she is marketable. Kind of thought about that. But you got to think, she's on a 3-fight losing streak. You got to think like she needs to do everything in her power to get a win. I'm assuming like if everybody knows that she needs probably get takedowns in this fight, I'm assuming she probably knows that, or Camp probably knows that. And I'm hoping she does fight to a good game plan, but you can never, I don't know, these fighters, sometimes they don't always do what you expect them to do, so yeah, I do have that concern. But even if it's on the feet, like I don't think she's, I don't think it's going to be like a wash for Shevchenko. I think the striking is actually pretty close, and Lee's definitely throws more volume as well, but I do think she mixes it in. Man, I like those decision odds considering Pickett lacks aggression and volume often. Yeah, that's true. He does lack aggression and volume, but it doesn't take much to knock out Jordan Wright. All right, so Mike Grundy versus Lando Vannata. Grundy 8,200. Vannata is 8,000, and I don't know. I really like Mike Grundy in this spot. I think he can wrestle. Going back and watching the Movsar Evloev fight, he was able to get 6 takedowns on Evloev, and that's impressive. That's very impressive. 6 takedowns on Evloev. Yes, Mike Grundy did gas out, but I think he really sold out for that submission that first round, which was locked in. It was deep. I'm surprised he didn't finish that, but he really sold out for that submission and kind of gassed himself out rounds 2 and rounds 3. Evloev was able to stuff those takedowns. But the good thing about this fight is Lando Vannata is not Movsar Evloev. Lando Vannata has a 58% takedown defense. He gets taken down pretty easy at times. Was taken down 4 times by Mark Diakese, which is a red flag. And Grundy is an Olympic wrestler. So I like Grundy. I like him to get takedowns. His gas tank is concerning, but with that said, Vannata's gas tank is concerning as well. So I like me some Grundy. So taking a look at the odds here, minus 120, minus 114 on FanDuel. I am extremely tempted, but I kind of want to see Vannata at the weigh-ins. Vannata is coming down a weight class from 155 to 145. I want to see how Vannata looks. But Grundy could possibly be a potential play for me. Like I'm really eyeing that minus 14 line. Like I think stylistically, this is a pretty solid matchup for him. He's obviously going to get takedowns. He's going to go for takedowns. He's going to fight to a good game plan. I like Grundy. In this fight. Grundy by decision could also be something to look at. Grundy only has 1 knockout on his record. I don't really see him submitting a brown belt. And Lando Vannata, Grundy by decision plus 205, plus 185, plus 175. If I can get the plus 205, I'd take that, but I don't have access to those books. So plus 205, I like that line a lot, but I don't have access to it, sadly. As far as DraftKings goes, yeah, Grundy's going to be one of these plays that I'm going to be pretty high on because you kind of have to. With this new DraftKings scoring system that does favor the takedowns, the control time, he's going to get a ton of takedowns. The only concerning thing is he's not going to land many strikes at all. Really, really low volume. But hoping he does get a ton of takedowns, hoping he does get some control time. And I do think at 8,200, I do think he has a solid chance of finding the optimal lineup. So pretty high on Grundy from a DraftKings perspective, and he might be a potential bet, but I'm going to sit back, watch the weigh-ins. Maybe Grundy by decision is something to look at as well, but I do like Grundy quite a bit in this fight. How much are these live crowds going to change your judgment after 261? Yeah, that was crazy. So I'm just curious to see how the fighters will react. We saw how the fighters reacted for 261. There were a ton of wars. That was probably one of the best cards I've ever seen in my life. Curious to see how it looks for this card as well. I'm assuming probably the same thing. But I will mention the crowd a little bit for one of these fights coming up. Take a guess, how much ownership does Lee get on DraftKings? Haven't done ownership projections yet, but if I had to take a guess, 25, 30 would be pushing it, but like in the 25% range probably. It's not going to be crazy, but I do think it'll be pretty high, especially for somebody down that range. Vannata going to be throwing spinning kicks and put on his back all fight long? I sure hope so. I think, yeah, you can catch kicks for sure, take him down. I think I'll have no problem taking him down. If Mark Diakise's taking you down 4 times, I think an Olympic wrestler and Mike Grundy can take you down for sure. So I do like Grundy in this fight. Lando Kagas, exactly. Lando Kagas cutting those extra 10 pounds. I was curious, like the guy has a bad gas tank as it is. So that's kind of why I wanted to see him on the scales. Like this line's weird. Like I don't see many people at all on the Lando Vannata side. I see pretty much everybody on Grundy, and the line's kind of staying where it's at. And that's kind of like the majority of these fights. Like these lines are weird this week. BJJ belt means nothing if you're gassed. Yep, tell that to Rodolfo Vieira, man. Shevchenko wins. She could, but I like Lee. I like Lee. If Lee comes in here with a bad game plan, she doesn't go for takedowns, yeah, Shevchenko can definitely win, but I think Lee should hopefully fight smart. All right, next we have a very exciting fight here. We have Matt Schnell versus Rogerio Bontorin. And yeah, interesting fight. I think it's going to be exciting, as most Matt Schnell fights are. Usually this guy's out there getting into wars, getting finishes or getting finished himself. But we saw in his last fight where he took a different approach against Tyson Nam. Matt Schnell fought smart in his last fight. He fought really smart. He stuck to the outside, and he just picked apart Tyson Nam for 15 minutes, threw a little bit more than Nam. And that's smart. That's how you beat Tyson Nam. You don't want to engage in a war. And he went out there with a fantastic game plan. But typically you'll see Schnell come out there and just engage in these brawls. And I kind of think that's what it's going to be like in this fight, especially with Bontorin, who's going to be coming forward looking for a firefight himself. I think this is one of the more exciting fights on the card, and I'm looking forward to it. As far as DraftKings goes, I don't really love the price for Schnell, 8,900, but I will have some. I can honestly see a finish in this fight as well. Both guys are capable finishers, and both guys are capable of being finished. Like Matt Schnell could be one of the chinniest fighters in the UFC. He's been knocked out quite a few times, 3 times, all 3, I believe, in the UFC. And I saw him get knocked out by a hammer fist that looked like it didn't even land, barely. And he went out cold from like a little hammer fist that had nothing on it, it looked like. And the guy's chinny. He doesn't have the chin to back up his style most times. But Bontorin, we saw him get knocked out just 2 months ago. It was like 2 months and like 2 days ago against Kaikar of France, somebody that typically goes to decision. And I think he's coming back way too early. I mean, you got to take some more time off than 2 months. So I think he's making a really early return here. That's kind of why I do lean with Schnell, but I don't like the price tag. If anything, I'll kind of look at it from like an under perspective, or like a fight doesn't go to decision perspective, because Bontorin, 88% finish rate, black belt in BJJ, Schnell, 69% finish rate. Both guys, tons of submissions on their record. And I can see Bontorin getting a submission. I can see Bontorin getting a knockout. I can see Schnell getting a knockout. I can see Schnell getting a submission. And I can see both getting either submitted or knocked out. So instead of betting a winner here, I'm going to be probably looking at that under, or like a fight doesn't go to decision. And as far as DraftKings, I'll be playing both sides for sure. I think Bontorin has takedown upside. He has very good takedowns, very strong. But Schnell, like his ground game is extremely underrated. He has great triangles, a great guillotine that Bontorin's going to have to watch out for. And although Bontorin's a black belt, Schnell looks pretty dang good on the mat. So I do think there's probably going to be a finish in this fight. So we'll take a look at the odds here for the fight doesn't get to decision, or the under 2.5. And under 2.5 plus 100, even money, that's not terrible. Like, I think this is going to be a war. And like somebody mentioned, like, we have the crowd back. We have a crowd. This isn't going to be a boring fight as well. And also, this is going to be at 135 because Bontorin's coming in, I think, on like a couple weeks short notice. So they moved the fight up 10 pounds to 135. So maybe they, have more energy, want to go out there and get into a war. But I think this fight's going to be very exciting. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 120. Not terrible. But like I said, both fighters are capable finishers, and both fighters are both capable of being finished. So I think the under is probably the way to go there. Should be a really fun fight regardless. Can Grundy get starched? I don't know, man. I don't know if he gets starched. Both have goat chins. Yeah, terrible chins, man. Terrible. Schnell's chin is horrible. Bontorin, I guess his chin's not that great either. Getting knocked out by Kaikar France. Brady, what book are you getting these? Fight won't start, said round. Bet Online and the FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm not sure what other books. I think Vannata as well. But yeah, there's a couple books that have those. Bontorin versus France was interesting. Yeah, I thought Bontorin like had it in the bag. The dude almost submitted him like a million times and then gets caught. 135, didn't realize you think their chins will be better. Yeah, they could be. They could be. But yeah, 135, which is really interesting because Bontorin had like a couple weeks, I believe, of notice. So weird. Very weird. All right, next we'll get into the next fight. We have Ronaldo Souza, Jacare Souza going against Andre Muniz, and I'm really looking forward to this fight. Souza 8,500 on DraftKings, Muniz is 7,700, and I am very, very high on Jacare Souza this week. And you take a look at Andre Muniz, and I like this guy. He made me some good money in his last fight against Bartosz Fabinski, but you go and you take a look at him. His cardio is not great. His takedown defense is terrible, sitting at 37%. He welcomes the takedown. He pulls guard. And don't get me wrong, he's a phenomenal grappler, but Ronaldo Souza, he's a fourth-degree black belt, couple-time world BJJ champion, a black belt since like 2003. Is Muniz going to have success in the grappling against Souza? And I lean towards no. I think this is a great fight for Souza. Like, honestly, I don't see how Muniz wins this fight outside of maybe catching Souza. But you take a look at Souza, like, people are calling him Cheney because of the Holland fight. And, but he's been knocked out 3 times. Muniz has actually been knocked out more times than Souza. Muniz has been knocked out in all 4 of his losses. I don't think his chin's all that great himself. And you take a look at who Souza's been knocked out by, guys like Robert Whittaker, guys like Kevin Holland. And I think Souza, has the better striking in this fight. I think he has the better ground game in this fight. But the only problem, and this is one of the reasons why he's only like minus 110 here, and that's because he's like 70 years old, and that's the only reason why. But yeah, Muniz, very hittable, 45% striking defense. And like I mentioned, that 37% takedown defense. So I think Souza can go for takedowns, can get them fairly easy. Stay on top. Like, is Muniz going to submit Souza from his back? Like, I'd be shocked. I told somebody earlier on my video saying Muniz is going to submit Souza. I told him I'd give him $100 if Muniz submitted Souza. Like, Souza's never been submitted. Souza probably will never be submitted. And yeah, I like him in this fight quite a bit, to be honest. Like, you take a look at who Souza's been fighting, and yes, he's 1-4 in his last 5 fights, but you take a look at who's been fighting. He's been fighting the best of the best. Kevin Holland, who was just, fighter of the year, used to be everybody's favorite fighter a couple of fights ago. Jan Blachowicz, the light heavyweight champion. Jack Hermanson, who was a contender, and then Kelvin Gastelum, Robert Whittaker. Like, look at who he's losing to. Yoel Romero. All of those guys would smoke Andre Muniz. I don't know about Kevin Holland, but everybody else. Jan Blachowicz would obviously smoke Andre Muniz. Hermanson obviously would smoke Muniz. Gastelum would smoke Muniz. Whittaker would smoke Muniz. But yeah, look at who he's facing. Like, he's facing really good guys. And then plus, if you think that Muniz is going to take down Souza, the only people that have taken down Souza in the last 10 years, Chris Weidman, in a fight that Souza knocked him out. And who was the other one? Who's the other one? Is that it? Is that the only? Oh, Jack Hermanson took him down 3 times. So other than that, like nobody's taking him down. I'd be shocked if Muniz took him down. But yeah, I like Jacare here, honestly. And if he wasn't 80 years old, I'd probably be going really heavy on it. But I did bet Souza at -110, and he's currently still -110. I'm just struggling to see how Muniz pulls it off. Like, is he going to knock out Souza? If anything, I think Souza could get a knockout. I think Souza knockout's live, but I do like Souza in this fight. As far as DraftKings, I'm going to be pretty high on both sides, but Souza 8,500. He's going to have takedown upside, control time upside. But yeah, it's an interesting fight. Like Souza has been fighting the best of the best, and Andre Muniz is struggling with guys like Antonio Hoyo. But I get the narrative of Souza being 100 years old. I get it, but I do like Souza in this fight. Let's see here. Souza's getting disrespected here. Clear favorite. Yeah, for me, like I think he's a pretty clear favorite, but I think that Kevin Holland knockout's really holding that line back. Do you see this fight maybe being a stand-up war? It could be, and even then, like I favor the stand-up of Souza. I think Muniz, yes, he has a reach advantage, which I don't like, but his striking's not that great, and he only has like a round of gas. He gassed out bad in that Hoyo fight. He gassed out in the Contender Series as well. I agree. Unless Jacare goes big nog route, he should get it done. He should get it done here. I will fade Souza in the future 110%. I just don't think this is the fight to do it. Like stylistically, this is a fight that Souza should win. And if this fight was a couple fights ago, Souza honestly, and I'm not even joking, he'd probably be like -800 in this fight just because stylistically, like Muniz, phenomenal grappler. Souza, 4th degree black belt. That's his thing. So, but he is old. He is old. I get it. I'm hoping the line goes plus for Souza. Yeah, I'm happy with my -110. I'm happy with my -110, but it could. Souza will get TKO'd. Like, will Muniz get on top of him? Like, will Muniz take him down? Does Muniz have the wrestling to do that? He was struggling at times to take down Antonio Hoyo, who we just saw has no takedown defense. So I'd be shocked if he took him down. But yeah, sure, if he takes him down, maybe a TKO could be possible. Andre Muniz all day. Yeah, Souza's. Who's knocking? Somebody's knocking. Yeah. Why are they knocking? I'm doing it live. But anyway, forget what I was gonna say. But yeah, Souza's really live on Andre Muniz. Barboza by decision. Yes, we'll talk about that next. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that fight. Really looking forward to it. All right, guys. 70 people in here. If you guys can hit the like. Let's get those likes up. Ron said Souza at -115 now. Muniz -105. Get on the train now. Yeah, I see a lot of really sharp guys on the Souza side. Imagine it was a stalker on Twitter. They're still knocking. I'm kind of terrified. I'm just kidding. I'm prepared. Souza gonna silence a lot of people. I think so as well. I think people are looking too much into that Kevin Holland fight. Is Muniz going to knock him out from his back? No, it's not going to happen. All right, next we have who is knocking? Like, this is making me mad. Maybe it's Muniz. Maybe it's Cachoeira. This is terrifying. Anyway, about to start yelling stuff. All right. Shane Burgos versus Edson Barboza. And this is the actual people's main event, or at least the fight I'm looking forward to. This is going to be a war, as are most Shane Burgos fights. Like, they're fun. He comes forward. He has no striking defense. He kind of has that Priscilla Catch-a-Beating striking defense, but he has a very good chin. I mean, we saw him take a ton of shots from Josh Emmett and just not go out, which kind of sucked because I had Josh Emmett by knockout at a crazy price. Very frustrating there because Josh Emmett knocked him down twice, but he has a very good chin. And stylistically, like, I think this is a very solid matchup for Shane Burgos because he's going to come forward. He's going to press Barboza. Barboza kind of wants to stick to the outside, and he's not going to give Barboza room to really work those leg kicks, those head kicks. He's not going to give Barboza much space, and I do think that favors Shane Burgos here. Burgos, a ton of volume, lands 7.31, which is the best on the slate. 50% striking accuracy, but you see right there, he does absorb 5.81, so he's very hittable. But I kind of like this matchup for him as long as he doesn't get knocked out, because is Barboza going to outland Shane Burgos? No, he's not. Burgos has multiple fights where he's landed over 100 significant strikes. Barboza only has done that once. And Barboza has like double the fights of Burgos as well. So I don't see Barboza outlanding him. So I think for Barboza to win, it's probably going to have to be a knockout, to be honest. Like, is he going to outland Burgos? I lean towards a hard no. And taking a look at the odds here, Burgos minus 135. He was like minus 115. Yeah, minus 115, minus 120. So some money's starting to come back in on the Burgos side. Yeah, I like Burgos. Burgos, I don't even know what prop it looked. I could see like a Burgos late finish. Barboza by knockout could be interesting. Barboza by knockout plus 375, plus 400. I do think that's how he wins, but Burgos has a very, very good chin on him. So I do like Burgos to win the fight. As far as DraftKings goes, a fight that I want a lot of exposure to, I think there's going to be a ton of output in this fight. I think there could be a possible finish. And although the new DraftKings scoring system kind of hurts Shane Burgos, with the amount of output he does throw and land, I still think he could put up a pretty dang good score at 8,400 with a possible late finish as well. But yeah, if he improves that defense, that striking defense a little bit, he can be a huge problem. But as we can tell, he is extremely, extremely hittable. But he has the toughness to back it up, which I do like. So give me Burgos here for the win. Barboza 7,800 is not terrible. I think if he wins, it's probably a knockout. It's probably early as well. But I am pretty high on Burgos. Behind you, yeah, I hope not, man. Oliveira versus Chandler under 2.5 or what? Yeah, we'll talk about that soon. I do like the under. Exactly. Barboza doesn't like pressure. And I was kind of talking about it on my prediction video earlier today. Kind of feels like it could be like the Justin Gaethje fight where Gaethje just pressed forward and Barboza didn't have any answers to it. I know Burgos is nowhere near Justin Gaethje, but I feel like you can kind of implement that same game plan of coming forward, making Barboza uncomfortable, not giving him any space. So stylistically, I do like this matchup for him. I thought Hooker would do the same thing. Yeah, that fight was crazy. That fight was insane. A terrible beating that Hooker did take. Barboza may take rounds 1 and 2. That's for Burgos is scary. May take a 10-8 third. It might sprinkle the draw prop. Could be decent. Draws are extremely hard to predict, though. Burgos gaining love. Line up 20 cents in the last 2 days. He has some steams coming in on the Burgos side. Live bet Burgos. He's losing the first round. Yeah, I can see it. I can see him losing the first round, getting tagged a little bit, maybe even getting dropped. He's been knocked down quite a few times. With how hittable he is, maybe he does get dropped, but Barboza spinning head kick. Yeah, like I was saying, like he's not going to give Barboza the space to land that. You know what I mean? But maybe Burgos, I don't know. I think he'll come forward and pressure. I think he'll fight smart. All right, next we have an interesting fight. Katlyn Chookagian going against Viviane Araujo. Chookagian 8,800 is going to be the easiest fade on DraftKings this year. Viviane 7,400 I think makes for a pretty solid dog play here. And we'll kind of take a look at the stats. Katlyn Chookagian, it's just so frustrating. You go through her career and she's getting outlanded in the majority of her fights. But the judges are just giving her these wins in fights where she's getting taken down, in fights where she's getting outlanded, because she makes these sounds, these noises that really, I think they sway the judges. I think they sway the judges in fights that she's clearly losing. Some are close, but a lot of these fights, like she's clearly getting outlanded. She's clearly throwing a lot of punches that are not landing at all. And I don't know what it is. The judges love Chookagian. I don't know what it is. 34% striking accuracy, which is the worst on the entire slate, a negative significant strike differential as well. And then you have Viviane Araujo, who is very high output, lands 5 significant strikes per minute, and decent takedowns as well. Lands 2.33 takedowns for 50 minutes. Chookagian is a 51% takedown defense. So it's interesting in a couple aspects. Like seeing Chookagian at 8,800 is insane. I think that's terrible. And even seeing the line, like seeing Chookagian as minus 140, I think is pretty horrible as well. Honestly, I think this should be a pick'em and honestly probably slight favorite to Viviane just because she can mix in the takedowns. She's going to be landing the harder shots, the better looking shots. She's going to be landing the more shots in general that are going to actually be landing. And we have the crowd back. Is the crowd going to be giving reactions to Chookagian punching air? Probably not. Is the crowd going to be giving reactions to Viviane landing some hard shots? Probably. So maybe that does help out there. I guess the one concern I have with Viviane is that gas tank. She does slow down as the fight goes on, but when she's fresh, she's looking good. But yeah, I think this is definitely 100% a dog or pass situation. I would not ever bet Chookagian here at minus 140. If you're on Chookagian, I'd say better by decision, but that line's not even that great. Chookagian by decision minus 105. But yeah, I'd be kind of shocked if there were people indeed betting Katlyn Chookagian this week. So dog or pass for me. Plus 120 is not horrible. Looks like some money's coming in on Chookagian for some reason. But yeah, I think Viviane wins those first 2 rounds. I think round 3 could be a little bit iffy if Viviane does slow down, but I do think that Viviane does win the fight. But I'm completely prepared for her to clearly win those first 2 rounds and then crystally score it 30-27 for Katlyn Chookagian. Completely prepared for that. But Viviane really should get this done here. And yeah, 8,800 is a fade for Chookagian on DraftKings. Viviane, 7,400 makes for a pretty solid dog, especially considering she can mix in those takedowns as well. Tucker Lutz versus Kevin Aguilar. Talked about it a little bit. Taking the Aguilar side. If you faded Chookagian before, like me, and been burned like me, LOL, UFC 262 will be our redemption. Hey, I hope so. And yes, I am a Chookagian fader for sure. Dogger pass for me on this one. I agree. What's up, Boston Nick? How you doing, man? Chook Train. Yeah, PayPal is Chook's favorite fan, or Katlyn's biggest fan. Another Chookagian pay-per-view fight. What a treat. Yeah, man. Yeah, don't agree with that at all. I think that maybe I don't know. I don't know why it's on the main card. I have no answers for that, actually. Buy G. I don't know what that means. Bathroom break. Make a drink. Have a smoke. Fight. Get ready for the co-main. I agree. When this fight's on, go make a snack or something. Probably not going to be exciting. Although I do like Viviane. I think she's an exciting fighter, but Chookagian does make fights pretty horrible. Not sure where the odds are so high for Chook. I've been burned by her before. I think a lot of people have, like in fights where she's clearly losing, clearly gets outlanded. The judges, for some reason, score the fight for her, and she's probably going to lose this fight. But I don't know what the judges are going to think. So judges have been horrible lately, which is very, very concerning in this fight, in a fight that does go to decision. But I do think Viviane should get the nod. People complaining about this card didn't watch the Helvia card. Hey, that was terrible as well. Yes, that was bad. But yeah, this card's decent. The card's decent, but some of these fights are like, why are these on here? All right, so we will now get into the co-main event. Is Oliveira going to crumble under the added pressure of the crowds? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think he will. Maybe she did something for the judges backstage. That's possible. Yeah, could be. She might be doing something. All right. So the co-main event, Beneil Dariush versus Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, honestly, probably one of my favorite fighters, but it's been really tough to watch him as of late. Like, he hasn't been looking like the same Tony Ferguson. He looked pretty terrible in the Justin Gaethje fight. Took a ton of damage, and kind of throughout his career, he's taken so much damage. So I'm thinking maybe that damage has added up. He's now 37 years old, and then looked horrible against Charles Oliveira as well, getting taken down, controlled very easily, getting taken down very easily, just did not have much to offer as well. And Beneil Dariush on quite of a win streak has been looking fantastic. It's a tough fight to call. I mean, if this was like prime Tony Ferguson, if this was Tony Ferguson of a few years ago, I would be all over Ferguson, especially as a dog. It's just, is this the same Tony Ferguson? Has that damage added up? Is he getting a little too old? I just don't know. I'm going to pick Beneil Dariush. I'm going to pick Beneil. I just don't like the line. We'll take a look at the line, and it's minus 170, especially now. Like, a ton of money's been coming in on Beneil. Like, if it was like minus 140, I don't hate that. But now it's like minus 170. I think it's pushing it a little bit. Like, could Ferguson come out here and surprise some people? I think he could, especially considering sometimes Dariush does like getting into wars. Getting into a war with Ferguson's not the best idea, but I think if Beneil does come in here, get takedowns, stay safe on top, I think he can win. I just have a bad feeling about this fight. I really do. I think Beneil should win, but wouldn't be shocked at all if Ferguson did pull it off. Taking a look at the lines on DraftKings, 8,600 for Beneil, 7,600 for Ferguson. I kind of like both sides. I think Ferguson, like I said, could surprise some people. I think a finish could be on the table for Ferguson here. Beneil has been knocked out a few times, kind of on the chinny side. And as far as Beneil goes, I think Beneil has that takedown upside, the control time upside. So I'm actually going to be pretty, semi-heavy on this co-main event. But yeah, I think Ferguson's a decent dog at 7,600. So what do you guys think in the chat? Like, is Ferguson completely done? Does he have it in him to beat Beneil here? I just don't know. But all I know is it's been really sad to watch Ferguson in his last two fights. Like, really sad. He just doesn't look the same, which sucks. This pay-per-view goes down when Hermansson versus Shabazzian is off. I agree. I really wanted to see that. I had a bet for that fight as well. I got done taping it, and then the fight was off. That sucked. I really wanted to see that. Dariush by scar tissue removal of Ferguson's face. Maybe. Got to have faith in Tony at plus 145. Dariush is good, but his competition has been softish. I kind of agree there. Ferguson has obviously been fighting the much better level of competition, but is he done, man? I don't know. Never thought I would see Tony as such a big underdog. Yeah. The dude was on a huge win streak, and then has just dropped these last two. So I don't know. Do you think Ferguson will perform better in front of fans? He could. Good point. This is going to be, in his last two fights, he was not performing in front of fans. So now that fans are back, maybe. Tony is done. Hey, he could be. Tony is still 12-0 with fans. You're right. Just like Cowboy and Woodley. Yes, Cowboy and Woodley are done. I don't know. I was looking at Tony Ferguson as a dog, but I might go with Ben. Yeah, I'm picking Ben to win, but I just don't feel overly confident in it. Can't bring myself to bet against Tony. Trends showing older fighters being set up for losses. Yeah, he's definitely getting up to 37 years old. He's done. If he loses this one, yeah, he's taken so much damage throughout his career. This one is a good matchup for Tony. Maybe. Like, if Beneil comes out here and fights, gets into a war with Tony, maybe Tony can knock him out. Looking back at Tony's wins, Cowboy Pettis doesn't look good. That's true. That is true. No bets here. Hoping Tony can get the magic back. Gun to my head. Tony by finish. Dariush by decision. Both strong plus money plays. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that Dariush by decision. I don't see him finishing Ferguson, who is extremely tough. But Ferguson by knockout, plus 530, plus 400. If you're on the Ferguson side, I can see like a Ferguson knockout possibly, considering Dariush has been knocked out quite a few times. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Ferguson training in his garage, finally catching up to him. Could be. Oh my goodness. Does he need Josh Fabia? Maybe. Maybe he needs to hang upside down while Josh punches him. Did you guys see that video? That was insane. That was insane. Poor Diego, man. All right, guys, time for the main event. Before we do so, if you guys can hit the like, also subscribe so not miss out on the other content on Pub Sports Radio. Finally back on the original channel, the main channel. Lots of content throughout the week. Going to be doing this now on Tuesdays earlier in the week. Want to get out as early as possible. We have a great card ahead of us, a great main card, a great main event as well, and it's Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler in a fight that, man, this fight is very tough to read. It's very tough to call. I like both fighters. I think they both are fantastic fighters. I really like seeing the improvements of Charles Oliveira throughout the years. Like, this is somebody that, did struggle if he was not able to get that early finish. He's somebody that has been finished in 6 of his 7 losses, or 7 out of his 8 losses, actually. And he's somebody that his striking has improved leaps and bounds over the years. And it's just awesome to see the evolution of Charles Oliveira. Then you have Michael Chandler, who came in here his last fight, making his UFC debut and starched Dan Hooker, which Nobody starches Dan Hooker like that in the first 60 seconds of the fight. Like, it's insane. Like, this is a very well-matched fight. But instead of, like, betting aside here, I kind of like the unders in this fight. I think the unders are probably the way to go. Like, it feels like one of those fights where they're just going to stand and bang until one man falls. I think this is going to be a war, especially with the style of Chandler coming forward. I'm interested to see how Oliveira reacts to that. Is he going to, back up? Is he going to come forward? Are they going to stand and meet in the middle? I don't know, but I think it's going to be a fun fight. I think someone does get finished. I think on DraftKings, you're going to 100% want to have this fight. I guess the interesting of this aspect of this fight, like, is Chandler going to shoot for takedowns? I don't know if he wants to do that. He is a black belt himself, but Oliveira, very, very dangerous on the mat. Third-degree black belt is Oliveira. I feel like Chandler's going to want to try to keep this standing for the majority of the fight. Pressure, try to land that knockout shot. Oliveira might go for takedown. I just don't see him taking down Chandler, to be honest. So I feel like this does play out on the feet. I feel like both guys are very dangerous on the feet, and both guys have been knocked out a few times. Oliveira's been knocked out like 3 times, I believe. Chandler's been knocked out like 2 times. So both guys are very capable finishers. Both guys are capable of being finished, and I do think someone gets finished in probably within the first round and a half, to be honest. And they set the over-under at 2.5. And I'll tell you guys right now, I did take a shot on the under 2.5 at minus 145. So money's been coming in on it. Minus 165. I expect this number to close at minus 200 around there. I really do. I think money's going to keep coming in on it. And as it already had, and opened up at minus 115. Yeah, right. Wish I could have got that. Must have missed it. But yeah, I do think this closes at like minus 200. Some other lines. I was looking at the under 3.5, minus 240. Minus 250. I don't love that. I like that minus 217. If I had access to that, I'd probably hammer that. But yeah, under 3.5, waiting for my book to open it. If I can get the under 3.5 at like minus 220, minus 210, I'd love that. Fight won't start round 4, minus 170. Like, that's not bad. Fight won't start round 4. Like, I find it hard seeing this get to round 4, round 5. I even find it hard, getting to round like 3, to be honest. So I like the unders rather than betting aside. I see a lot of people taking a shot on Chandler at plus money. Not terrible, but I do think there's a fight or a finish in this fight either way. And on DraftKings, I'm probably going to be around 100% owned on this fight. You probably have to be 100% on this fight, just with their prices and everything and the styles of both guys. But I do like the under. The under is what I'm going with. Chandler all day, twice on Sundays. If he's a ton to remember, I felt we'll see it sooner than later. Man, Oliveira looked like a monster in his last fight. I don't know how anybody can beat him. He looked like a monster. He did. But we got to think, he looked like a monster against Tony Ferguson, who could be on his way out. So I don't know. Under 2.5, yep, I already hit it. And was planning on hitting the under 3.5, but if the line's not great, I won't. But yeah, under 2.5 is probably the way to go. Antonia or Andrade? Antonina? Oh, Antonina or Andrade? Andrade. I think that's what you're asking. Chandler first round knockout plus 500. Charles by sub. Or just the under, man. Or just the under. But yeah, Chandler, I think, is live for that first round knockout. Charles is definitely live for a sub if it does hit the mat. What? Chandler by inverted triangle, thank me later. I don't know. Oliveira puts on a masterclass. Chandler gets dropped and choked out in round 1. I'm fine with that, man. I'm fine with that. I'm going to be hammering these unders and these unders where the fight doesn't start round 4. I'm going to be hammering them. So yeah, that's completely fine. I don't really care who wins. I just want to sit back and watch some violence, to be honest. Chandler in round 1 plus 600 is tempting. Yeah, definitely a path to victory for him. All jokes aside, Chandler could get a sub. He gives his neck up. I think he could if it gets later into the fight, maybe. The way Oliveira messed up Ferg is crazy. Yeah, he made it look easy out there. Chandler by slam. Oh, you meant Chandler could get subbed? Oh yeah, he can get subbed. If he does shoot for takedowns, I think he could get subbed. Overlooks. I think the over 1.5 is a lock at minus 190. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a lock. I would not say it's a lock. It's going to be a dangerous fight. But yeah, that's about it, guys. We had a decent audience in there, so maybe going with the Tuesdays is probably the way to go. Just to kind of recap, I love the main event from a DraftKings perspective. I love – what else do I love? Pickett Wright from a DraftKings perspective. I like Mazani Cachoeira as like a low-owned fight the target on DraftKings. I think that Andrea Lee is a very, very tempting pump play at 7,000. Other than that, Chandler 7,500 is a really good underdog play, I'd say. Ferguson, I'll probably have some Ferguson. I'm not going to go crazy on it, but I'll have some Ferguson. But yeah, it should be a fun DraftKings card, a card where don't be afraid to leave some salary on the table. There's not going to be 100 ties like there was last week. I think there's going to be just maybe a few ties, if that. Like, you can leave so much salary on the table this week. It's insane. So it should be a fun card. And I love this card from a DraftKings perspective, a betting perspective, and the card as a whole is pretty good. So looking forward to it quite a bit. Like it, boys. Keep this man online for us. Appreciate that, Ron. Hit the like button. Thanks. Appreciate that, Connor. Chandler doesn't use his wrestling enough. I think Oliveira might have the edge in the strike. Yeah, the striking, both guys are. I'm curious to see who does have the edge in the striking. I just don't know. I like the forward pressure of Chandler, but I don't know what to see. But hopefully there's a finish. That's what I'm betting for sure. How many finish do you think there'll be this weekend? I will say like 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, maybe like 4 or 5. Remember, we're back in the bigger cage, so probably more decisions. All right, guys, that's about it, guys, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I'll be posting my bets on fight day, and I'm going to have a ton of them. So check it out. You can check me out on my channel, DFS by the numbers. Just posted my full card breakdown and prediction video. Going to be posting my DraftKings video soon as well, and then I have a live stream on Friday. I'm not sure if there's PFL or Bellator this week. I don't think there is. But maybe there's LFA this weekend. But if there is, the guys will be doing it. All that good stuff. Check out all the other content on Pub Sports as well. Lots of great people on here. And that's about it. And good luck for UFC 262. Let's make some money, guys.